So basically, today we are going to see on generation of computer. Yesterday we have finished data processing and everything. Today we'll see from today onwards. You'll see something related to computer in more details. So we'll be seeing generation of computer and then types of computer and then we'll see part of computer and then data representation of the computer. So everything we will see later. So we are starting with the point generation of computer. Fine. So generation of computer means what? So everything will have some generation, right? So if I will talk from your perspective, I will ask that what is your generation? That means I wanted to know that you directly not came in the earth, right? Before you, your guardians, your fathers is there, your mothers is there. Before your mothers, your grandfathers are there. Before your grandfathers fathers will be there. So that means they are the generation to you, right? So you can also think of, if I will say that the way you are thinking as of now and the way your father is thinking, there will be the differences. You will be thinking in a different way because you are in the 20th century. But if I will talk from your father's perspective, might be the thinking will be little bit older age. Thinking will not be the modern age. But if I will talk from your grandfather's perspective, the thinking will be little bit very old. And if I will talk from your grandfather's father's perspective, then you cannot match your thinking with their thinking. So this is the changing in the, because of the changing in the generation, you will see the changes in the ability of understanding. Also the way you are working as of now, if I will say something to you to understand, you will understand it very very fast because of being a new user person, new modern technology person, modern person. But if I will say something to your father to understand, might be your father will not able to understand. So that means that the thing is like generation is changing, and because of the generation is changing because of the one life cycle, you can say, because of one life cycle generation is changing in the human. This is the process, life cycle process. But you can also think, if I will say generation is changing, that means the way of thinking is changing, the advanced technology is coming, and this advanced technology making you think of something else, and that is why the generation of the computer also working in that way. So why that generation of computer? See, when the computer first came in the world, that time, and what you are doing, what we are working as of now, what computer we have seen just now, we have seen many of the things like laptop, desktop and all. It's a very the first generation means first time that computer has been generated, and now the computer has been generated will have a huge differences. It is not like the first generation means when 1947 or 1950 whatever the computer has been generated, the same computer we are using as of now, it is not like that. There will be lot of differences. So that is what we are going to discuss today, the generation of computer, and then we'll see how many generations are there, and then we'll see in each generation what all new things came, and then you will decide that which generation. Then I will say you that our generation means in which generation computer we are using as of now, and then we'll see that in our generation and in the first generation or in the second generation what were the differences. Okay, so let me start. Generation of computer, the changing of the generation of computer is because of, we can see that there is a lot of changes happened in the physics and electronics. Physics is not just, it is not like a subject to just in the 10th class we have a studied physics, that is the only physics. Physics has a lot of it is a very vast thing, and that what you are learning as of now, it is just a 2% of physics. If you are in 10th, you can understand that you are learning only 2% of physics. But the thing is, you are just naming, you are just knowing the name. But when the things will come in the latter phase, research, physics research and all, you will see something else. So that means physics is also changing. The the content of physics is the new, the new thing is coming in the world with respect to physics. Also with the electronics also the same thing is happening. So because of the physics and electronics changing, and we know that a computer, when we have discussed about the computers in electronic device, we have seen that all these things, the hardware things, is made up of electronics things, right? We will discuss more on the parts of hardware, then we'll see that what parts is needed, what type of electronics device. But in the computer we have seen that all the electronics device is, all the hardware thing is because of the electronic device. So that is why if electronics will be changing, that means your hardware ability also will be changing, you will be getting the new types of hardware. So that is why if physics is changing and electronics is changing, then of course the computer generation will change. So what is that? Why the computer is generation is changing? Because of the very vast changes happens in physics and electronics, we have seen the changes in generation of computer. So what I have mentioned here is, because of the very vast changes happen in physics and electronics, we have seen the changes in generation of computer. So if somebody will ask that why the generation of computer, why not you are using the first, whenever the first generation computer has been created, why not you are using this one, why you are using the different type of generation computer? It is because, you can say, because if you go in a further way, you can understand that physics and electronics is a very vast thing, and as the physics and electronics is changing, the technology is changing, that the computer is a technology. So that means the made of the computer technology also changing, and that leads to the generation of computer. Okay, so note it down. Fine. Okay, so now you can ask the question. So okay, fine, this is the definition of generation of computer. We have understood like why we are studying about the generation. So how many generations are there, and what is the things present in the generation? Means what is there in the first generation, and in the second generation what is the difference came, and in the third generation what is the difference came from the first and second, in the fourth generation what is the difference came from first, second and third, and in the fifth generation what is the difference came from the last four generation. And you can also ask the question, so in which generation we are in, means which generation computer we are working as of now. So every question's answer will be there now. So what I will do, I will first write the things of the first generation computer, and then I will explain you. Similarly, I will write the second generation, third generation, fourth generation, fifth generation, and I will explain you after that. So let me write the first generation of computer. So I am just deleting it here. It is first generation. So let me write the point, then I will discuss one by one. So first point is, you can also write it down so that you will save time and you can understand when I will explain these things. Okay. So first generation, the computer which was developed in 1946 to 1959. The computer which is developed in 1946 to 1959. Okay. Second point is, they were large and limited to basic calculation. They were large and limited to basic calculation. They were large and limited to basic calculation. Third is, they consist of large device like vacuum tube. They consist of large device like vacuum tube. Fourth is, the input method for this computer was a machine language. The input method was machine language. Which is also called as first generation language. So this machine language called as 1GL. 1GL means first generation language. So 1GL means first generation language. Okay. So fifth is, they were large and very unreliable. They were large we have already mentioned, so we can remove it. They were unreliable. They were very unreliable. I will tell you what is the meaning of input method, what is the meaning of unreliable. I will explain everything, just write it down. Sixth point is, they would heat up and frequently shut down. The main dangerous thing is, they were heat up and shut down. Okay, by doing very basic calculation. Okay, so just write it down. I'm just again I'm saying the point. First point is, from the first generation of computer, first point is, the computer which is developed in 1946 to 1959 Second is they were large and limited to basic calculation, CALC upper N, but you can write it as calculation, CALCULATION. Then next is they consist of large device like vacuum tube. Okay. The input method was machine language, also called as the first generation language, 1GL. 1GL means first generation language, because we are studying about the first generation, so that means first generation language. They were very unreliable. I am just marking the point which you need to understand and remember. Okay, so next is they were heat up and shut down by doing basic calculations. So they are getting heat up and shut down by doing the only basic calculations. Okay. Fine. So let's understand the point. You can understand that the first generation computer, okay, means the first computer in the world. It is developed in 1946 to 1959. That means before this there were no computer. Before this there were no computer. So you can say that before 1946 there were no computer. Right? Second is, so when somebody will ask that when the first computer has been designed, or in the interview question, or in the SSC exams, or in the any of the exams, you will see further in later. The questions will be when is the first computer launched, first generation computer. You can say that in the range of 1946 to 1959 the first computer came. Okay. Second point is they were large and limited to basic calculation. Even though the name is computer, first generation, I have told you so many things about computer, that computer will do these things, that things, very fast and all. But that does not mean that the first computer itself is very fast. The first computer, even you can think of, if I will say that today you are working on the smartphone, but if I will say that your father, your grandfather, let us say grandfather not seen the mobile basically. Regarding your father, let us say your father has bought one mobile. So previously the mobile was not Android device, not the smartphone. It was a very smaller one, and you can do very basic things. You cannot watch the movie. You cannot, send the SMS also. That photos and all. No WhatsApp, no Facebook, nothing was there. So that means that was a very basic mobile. Similarly, even in the computer, the first generation computer was very basic, and they were doing the very basic calculations. And even by doing the very basic calculation, if you go to little bit advanced, if you do little bit advanced in the first generation of computer, it will shut down. See here, it will shut down. So that is what I have mentioned in the 6th point. From 2 to 6 you just think. So I mentioned they were large. They were large because of what I will say in the 3rd point. But they were large and limited to basic calculations. If you do more, little bit of advanced calculation, it will shut down. Shut down means it will close, it will crash. So there is no meaning. If you are using some mobile and you are doing something, and after that your mobile will crash, shut down, then you can say that okay, this mobile is not good, we have to go for another mobile, right? Similarly, in the first generation of computer, these things happen like after doing a little bit advanced computerization, little bit advanced work, it will get heat up, machine will get heat up and shut down. Why the machine is getting heated up? It is because in the 3rd point it is mentioned they consist of large device like vacuum tube. So the vacuum tube is a very, if you talk in the physics perspective, so vacuum tube, you go and study, you can go and check on the Googles also regarding the vacuum tube. So this vacuum tube is a very large one. It is very large, and it does not have a much power to handle all the pressures. And the first computer, it is made up of vacuum tube. It is also a physics, right? That is what I said, only because of physics and electronics it changes, our generation changes. So in the first generation there was not so much of physics things present, so they have used vacuum tube. to create the first generation computer, and because of vacuum tube it is a very large in size. Why it is large in size? Because of being a vacuum tube, using the vacuum tube. Why it is limited to basic calculation? Because if you do the advanced calculation it will shut down. Okay, so you are clear with first point, second point, third point, sixth point. Fourth point is the input method was machine language. See, when you are working, if you are using the mobile, then if you wanted mobile to do something, that means you are typing, right? If you are using WhatsApp to send some message, it is not like you are not doing anything and message sending to somebody else. That means you are putting some message, you are writing some message, then only it is going, right? So that means this is the input method. So computer is a large level of mobiles. So that means in the first generation, right now you can see the keyboard. I will discuss on the keyboard and all these things. But you can see the keyboard. You can just go and write something on the keyboard, and you will get data over the computer. But in the first machine, in the first computer, it was not like a keyboard. The input method was a machine language method. So this is a machine language is a term which you might be studying in the later phase if you go to some advanced study. So input method was a machine language which is called as a first generation language. 1GL. 1GL means first generation language. This might be a question can be asked like in the first generation of computer what was the language? So that will be a 1GL, first generation language. So or might be I will give some example of the first generation computer. Then question can be asked in this type of computer what language was used for the input method. Then you have to say that first generation language. So I will give some questions, then you can understand. Okay. So next point is they were very unreliable. Unreliable means they were very unreliable. Reliability means what? First you understand the reliable, then you can understand the unreliable. Reliable means you can faith. You are reliable to some work. I have a faith on you actually. You are a reliable person means I am believing on you. It is very unreliable. Un means negation of the reliable, negativity of the reliable. That means I can say that he is a very unreliable person. Means I am not believing on him. I cannot believe on this person. He might change at some time. So in the first generation of computer, in terms of computer, unreliability means you just wanted to do something, but might be you cannot believe on this one. You are expecting some data, but they might give some other data. Because of being the first generation and they are not using so much of technology, it was in 1946, so it was unreliable. So that means we should have to move to some other generation of computer. So write down these points if you are not written, and then we'll see first. Okay, so here it is mentioned shut down. Here in the 6th point it is mentioned they were heat up and shut down by doing basic calculation. So I am raising it off. Okay, so we'll see some examples of first generation computer. Okay, so examples of first generation computer is which type of computer was there. So it was like you just remember it because it is the question can be asked, but you cannot see this computer as of now. Computer name is ENIAC. Second is EN D EDVAC actually. EDVAC. Third is UNIVAC. IBM 701, IBM 650. These are the first generation computer. So you just remember that. If I will, because the question can be asked like, the question will be like, which is the first generation of computer? There will be many options. Then you have to remember that ENIAC, EDVAC. VSC means ASC means vacuum tube actually, because of the vacuum tube we are using, right? So they might be have given the name like that, but it does not have a proper meaning. You just have to remember ENISC, EDVSC, UNIVSC. This is VSC vacuum actually. VSC, VSC vacuum. So IBM 701. So IBM is a company. You know that IBM is a company which is developing the hardware, also developing the software also. So IBM is a very famous company, and IBM has made they have made the first computer also. So you can understand that IBM is a very old company. So they have made the first computer, has given the name first generation computer, and given the name as IBM 701. Do not ask why it is 701, because they have given some term. Samsung Galaxy G2 something something is coming, so you cannot ask why it is G2, because they, whatever the according to the company, they think something, and accordingly they have given the name. So there is no proper meaning. So IBM 701, IBM 650, these are the first generation of computer. Now another question can be asked, like in the ENIAC, which language is used as the input method? In the ENIAC, which language is used as an input method? Then the question, you can understand, like they are asking, in the first generation of computer, what was the input method? Input method was a first generation language, 1GL. So question will be, in the ENIAC or in the UNIAC, what is the input method language? Answer will be 1GL or first generation language. Fine. So you can write it down. Fine. So we'll see the second generation. Second generation. Fine. So again, I will write the point on the second generation, then we'll discuss. You can write it down. Second generation. First is computer developed between 1959 to 1965. Okay. Second point is, the computer were more reliable, and in place of vacuum tube use transistor. It is more reliable. It used transistor in place of vacuum tube. Okay. Fourth point, because the use of the use of AC or AC, alternating current, it is fast. Because of use of alternating current, it is fast. Okay. Input method, input language method, input languages are which one? It is a high level language. Input language was COBOL, 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 Fortran, it is a high level language. High level language 6 point. We'll see this one. First write it down. Fine. So basically you can see that the second generation of computer which was developed between 1959 to 1965. So first generation have ended there, and then second generation computer came. It was continuous basically. It is not like in between there was no computer. So it is continuously developed, and the range of this time is, you just have to remember these points. Second generation computer developed between 1959 to 1965. It is more reliable. You can understand the meaning of reliable means you have a belief, you can believe on the second generation of computer. So that means there will be some extra advantage has been given, some new things have been used, so you can believe on this. Third is why you can believe, because it is using the transistor you have seen in the physics. The new transistor is used at many of the different electronic devices. So in place of vacuum tube, because of vacuum tube it was very large and it was unreliable also, here they have used the transistor. So in the second generation of computer, transistor had been used. In the first generation of computer, vacuum tube was used. Okay, because of the use of alternating current, it is fast. Alternating current and direct current also you have studied about that. So in the physics, so because of the alternating current, it is fast. And next is the input method is input language. So data input, like in the first generation we have said like data input method was something else, but here the data input method is different languages. In this language you can insert the data, that is COBOL and Fortran. COBOL, COBOL, FORTRAN, Fortran. So these are the languages. So if you go further in the software industry, if you want to work with a software engineer, or if you study about the software engineering things, then you can see that what is the COBOL, what is the Fortran. So these languages are very vast language. It is a high level language basically that machine can only understand. We cannot understand. Machine can only understand. We have to write this coding in this language, and machine will understand the language. So then we'll have some examples. So examples of second generation. Examples is, again, because I said like IBM is a very old company and IBM is generating so many hardware things. Previously IBM used to develop so many computers. Now it came to the software by field also, and they are very vast. But IBM have a hardware, like this one computer is very it is a very old company who is generating. IBM is generating so many computers from the first generation itself. So IBM have the second generation computer also, named as IBM 620, IBM 1620. Okay. Second is IBM 74094, IBM 7094. Then CDC 1604. So these are some of the examples. These are some of the examples of the second generation of the computer. And okay, so you can make a note of this. Question can be asked, which of the following is the second generation of computer? Then you have to remember, you have to tick it. And these are the real questions. Don't think like these questions cannot be asked. These are the real questions which will be asked in many exams. So always try to make a note and try to revisit whatever the 2 or 3 sessions you have studied, and try to write it down and understand these things. Keep in mind. Okay. So fine, you can write it down. Then we'll see the third generation. Fine. We'll have a third generation. Third generation. So third generation, first point is, so see, when I say generation first, second, third, that means you can see that the time is also changing. That means you can see it is increasing from 1949, it is coming to 1956, and now it will come to some 1965, and then suddenly it will come as the fifth generation. Then we'll see that our time. So that means the day by day generation is changing. The day by day the computer description also changing, and you are seeing that first generation was slow, second generation and also non-reliable, second generation was reliable, third generation you will see something else, fourth generation you will see more advanced, and fifth generation you will see it is a high speed computer. Okay, so first point in the third generation is computer developed during 1965 to 1971. Computer developed during 1965 to 1971. Okay. Second point. See, in the first and second generation, first generation we have used vacuum tube, second generation we have used transistor, but here we are going to use some different, because in the third generation some different technology, and that is the advanced technology has been used. That is called the integrated circuit, IC. The chip, you are saying the chip is used. That is the third generation computer has used. First and second do not have this functionality, because on that time before 1965 IC was not used, because it was not known much. So in this one, this computer differed from the first and second generation. This computer differed from first and second generation. Okay, simply by the fact that a new integrated circuit, new, here I will write integrated, INTEGRATED circuit, CUIT. In the bracket you can write it as IC is used. Integrated circuit. You can understand that the word also is very, I will discuss on this point. First let me write all the points, then we'll discuss. Third point, what is that integrated circuit? IC is a small device, okay, that contain thousands and thousands of devices like transistor. Thousand and thousand of device transistor resistance and other circuit element. Which make the computer. Okay, so IC is a small device that contain thousand of device like transistor, resistance and other circuit element which make the computer. Okay, write it. Fine. So let me explain this point, then we'll move to the next point. So first is computer developed during 1965 to 1971. That means you can see that after second generation when it is ended, third generation came. Next point is this computer differ from first and second generation simply by the fact that a new integrated circuit is used. So that means in the third generation a new technology has been used here, and because of that might be the computer is faster than the second generation. So if the question will be asked, or you have to remember that in which generation the IC has been used, you have to say in the third generation. Some question will be asked like, what is the difference between the first generation and second and the third generation? Or the question will be, what is the new thing came in the third generation which was not in the first and second generation? All question is same. Answer is because the electronic instrument what is used in the third generation, that was fast, and that is called an integrated circuit. IC has been used. So question will be like, what is IC? See, you have understood about resistance, you have studied about transistor, resistance and other circuit devices you have studied in the physics, electricity. So IC is a device, it is a very small device, that is the advantage basically. If it is a small device, if device will be a small, that means you can fit it in the computer and computer will be a small. Do you think that you want a computer which should take a bigger room? No. You want a computer which should come on the lab. That is why you are preparing the laptop or desktop. But that if you use a transistor or if you use the vacuum tube, it is not possible. So in the third generation, IC is a small device that contains thousand of this is also a big difference. Thousand of devices like transistor and resistance and other circuit. So it is not like one transistor or one resistance has been given in the IC. You can have multiple transistor, and if you talk from the second generation, they have used transistor separately, but they are not able to use the resistance, they are not able to use the other circuit elements which is used for the computer, making the computer. So that is the difference if you use the IC, and that is what even in the mobile, current mobiles, whatever the mobile is getting prepared or the television or many other things, IC is used. So if somebody will ask what is IC, somebody will say chip laga hua hai. Then you can say that see, chip is nothing else. It is just it just consists of many devices, different devices like resistance, like transistor, like other circuit elements, and it is small inside. So because of physics it is possible. That is why if you use IC, of course the third generation will be little bit better than first and second. Okay, so move to next point. Okay, so next point will be fourth point. Okay, With the invention of IC, it is possible to fit thousand circuit elements into a small region, and hence size of the computer is smaller and smaller. I told because of the use of IC, because of use of integrated circuit, the size, because when use of integrated circuit, we can accumulate ACCUMULAT, accumulate multiple of circuit devices, MULTIPLE, multiple of circuit devices in a smaller place, and because of that the computer will become smaller and smaller in size, okay. Fifth point, it is very fast. It is faster than first and second generation, okay. Sixth point, it is more reliable. Okay. Seventh point, the most complex calculation can be done here. Okay, and write this. No, first point is because of the use of IC, integrated circuit, we can accumulate multiple of circuit device in a smaller place. So IC, I told it is a very small one where you can put thousand of the resistance, transistor, and other devices. That means this chip consisting of these all things, and if you can use this chip in the computer, that means your computer will be a smaller one. So that is the advantage of third generation. In the first and second, it is not so small. Okay. Fifth point is it is faster than first and second generation. It is because of the IC. How many, if you will make the things smart, if you make use of resistance, use of transistor, and other device will use, that means of course your computer will be fast. Or your other device also, even if you use the IC in the mobile, and if you use a good type of IC, then it will be fast. Next, it is more and more reliable. That means you can believe more than first and second generation of computer. In the first and second generation of computer, you might feel like, even though I have mentioned second generation is more reliable, but third generation is better than that. It is same as if you say that, you have bought some phone, you are working on this phone and you are liking it, but some other phones came and you are started liking this because of the maybe camera is more pixel. It is 8 megapixel, it will become a 12 megapixel. So this is the difference. So that is a small difference I said, but in the second and third generation differences is there. It is because of the IC. It is the main difference is the integrated circuit. So next point is the most complex calculation can be done. That is also the thing, if in the first generation of computer you have seen that first generation of computer we have seen the basic calculation only you can do, and if you do little bit of advanced calculation it will shut down. But it is not the case in the third generation. It is more reliable and you can do the advanced level of calculations also. So write it down. Fine. So I am erasing it off and we'll see some examples. Example. example of third generation of computer. Okay, so you can write it IBM 360 series. Okay, Honeywell Honeywell 600 series and IBM 370 by 168. So these are some of the examples. So when I say series, that means IBM 360, 361, 362, some series will be there in that one. So many of these series came with the functionality of third generation. That means in this series of computer, if you go and buy, right now it is not available. We'll have a fifth generation of computer only available in the market. But if you talk from the third generation perspective, if somebody is present in the third generation, like whatever the time I have mentioned, during that time they might go to the shop and they can say that I need a 360 series, IBM 360 series. Then they can give the third generation of computer. So similarly Honeywell, so till now we are discussing, seeing that only IBM, but now another company came, is Honeywell. Honeywell is a company, okay, that this company also have some 600 series in the third generation of computer. Means they are also started making the computer during the third generation. Fine. And then again, this is a special series of IBM that you can remember. This is also a third generation computer. This is another series. This is another series, right? So you can remember these things. These all things are for the remembering, for the exam perspective. Questions can be asked, which is the third generation computer. So just make a note of this. Then we will see fourth generation and fifth generation. Fine. Fourth generation. Okay, fourth generation. So first point is, fourth generation of computer was developed between fourth generation developed. I will not write fourth generation, I will write computer developed between 1971 to 1980. Okay, so you can see that now we are entering into our region, 1980. Okay, दूसरा, second point, the computer used the VLSI technology. See, some changes, always you can see some changes are there. The computer uses VLSI technology. Okay, VLSI means very large scale integrated circuit. Very large scale integrated circuit. Okay. Third point, it is also known as microprocessor. Microprocessor, MICROPROCESSOR, microprocessor. Okay. Intel was the first company developed microprocessor. Okay, write it down, then we'll see. See, this from here, from the fourth generation, you will see some new things, and that will relate you. Okay, so first thing is the computer developed between 1971 to 1980. 1980 is our generation. Now it is a coming generation, right? The computer uses VLSI technology. VLSI technology. In the third generation, we have seen the IC, integrated circuit. Here it is also an integrated circuit. See, here also it is mentioned integrated circuit, but what is this? Very large scale. You can think of, when I say IC, and IC is consisting in thousands and thousands of circuit, and I am saying VLSI means very large scale. That means it was larger than the IC. That means it was so much of technology, so much of circuit has been added in the VLSI. So this is the one technology which, if you will go to the electronics engineering, or if you read more about the electronics, you can see that VLSI is used. And this VLSI, some company is there in our world, that they are working on the VLSI technology. So this is a very vast and very known technology, and the circuit which is used in the VLSI technology is very large scale. So VLSI means very large scale integrated circuit. So what will be the difference between IC and VLSI? You just understand the difference so that you can understand it better. IC means integrated circuit, but that in the integrated circuit will have thousands and thousands of resistor, transistor, etc. But in the VLSI, this is multiple times larger than the IC. So that is a very large scale. That means it is advanced level of the IC. If you can think, like, if I will use one IC, my computer became fast in the third generation. So if I am using the very vast level of IC, that is VLSI, then my fourth generation computer will be faster and faster than third generation. Okay. So in this VLSI technology also called as microprocessor. So you just remember this VLSI technology also called as microprocessor. And this microprocessor is a subject. It is not just a topic, it is a subject. If you go to engineering someday, or if you go to other computer fields where you are working with the software and all, then you have to learn about microprocessor in detail. And it is a very thick book actually, and will have many things to understand. And microprocessor, first company who has developed the microprocessor was Intel. So you see, we have seen 4 companies name. We have seen the IBM, we have seen the Honeywell, we have seen the Intel. So these are the software industry company, and these are the leading company. We are not aware of many companies, but these are the leading companies, and Intel was the first company who developed microprocessor. So if I will say Intel was the first company who developed microprocessor, that means Intel was the first company who used the VLSI technology, right? Because VLSI technology is called microprocessor, and microprocessor has been developed by Intel. So VLSI technology has been used by the Intel. So in the Intel office, Intel is a company, INTEL. Intel is a company. In the Intel office, we will have engineers for the VLSI technology. Many engineers are working in the VLSI technology. They are using their brain to create the integrated circuits with a very large scale. Okay. Next point is, from here only that personal computer started developing. So tomorrow we'll see, means next class we'll see the personal computer, what is personal computer. But here you can write fifth point you can write. Okay, the first personal computer developed by IBM belongs to this generation. The first personal computer developed by IBM belongs to which generation? Belongs to fourth generation. Okay, so you can say that in the fourth generation itself the personal computer started. Personal computer means the computer which is used for personal use. So in this one we will study about laptop, we will study about desktop. Okay, so this is the personal computer. Detail we'll see. Don't worry about these all things. We'll see in the detail. This is just not a computer means laptop and desktop. Computer means many things are there. Supercomputer, microcomputer, mini computer. These all things are there. So we'll just understand the first personal computer developed by IBM belongs to fourth generation. Okay. Next is 6 point. I have said VLSI technology. VLSI technology I have said it is consisting of very large scale integrated circuit. So how many transistor it can take? It is consisting of 5,000 of transistor or more. So 5,000 transistor or more is used in the VLSI technology. You can see if you are using one transistor in the third generation, we are saying that it is fast. And if I will say I am using 5,000 transistor in the fourth generation, then it will be very fast. Okay. So this is the first computer. In the fourth generation, the computer started working on the electricity directly, a small amount of electricity. Other computer also work with electricity. Don't say like other computer work with battery. Other generation computer also work with electricity, but fourth generation computer is the first which started working with a small amount of electricity. Computer does not take much electricity because of the internal functionality used. So this is the first, we can write it at these computers were very compact. These computers were very compact and use small amount of electricity. Okay, so even with a small amount of electricity, after fourth generation computer, all the computers start working in a good way. Okay, so some examples we can mention. Before that we can write the input method, input language. So input languages are the new level language. Input languages are. Input language was C, C++, D-base. Okay, so these are the input languages. We will see these are the programming language. This is the software language. Okay, you have to understand this subject. This is not just a language. It is not an English or Hindi language. It is a software language. In this language, C++ language, C language, D-base language, there is many languages, Java language, a scripting language, many things is there that we have to study as a book, as a course to understand these things. So input method, input language for the fourth generation started with the new level language, that is C, C++, etc. So you can write it down, then we'll see some examples. Before example, you can write one more point. 9. The first supercomputer generated in this generation. That means the first supercomputers. What is supercomputer? That we'll see in the next class. Supercomputer means the computer which is very fast, which is used for the scientific reason. ISRO, NASA, they are doing some calculations, very high level calculations that we cannot think of doing as a human. You cannot do that. That they are using the supercomputer. This is not our laptop, or we are doing our work with the laptop, which is reliable, which we can work. But supercomputer is a very vast thing that we'll discuss in the next class. So you can write, and also you can think the first supercomputer has been generated in the 4th generation only. Okay, so write it. Okay, so some examples are examples of 4th generation of computer. It is star, 1000, C-ray, C-ray, XMP. C-ray -X -MP. This is the name of the computer. This is a supercomputer name. Supercomputer name. The first supercomputer which is developed in the 4th generation, having the name C-ray -X -MP. Okay. Then another is, you can say DEC 10. Other things. These are the examples of 4th generation of computer. Okay. So we already completed 1 hour, but let me complete this 5th generation also today. So we'll see next topic in the next class. Generation. So this is the generation where we are. Okay, this is the generation where we are now. We are working with the 5th generation of computer. So some points are there. First point, this is the present generation of computer and is the most advanced one. This is the present generation of computer. Next point, it is most advanced. Okay. Third point, it started generation, means it computer developed after 1981. Okay, so computer which is developed after 1981 and even in the present means from 1981 to till now, whatever the computer is getting generated is a 5th generation of computer. Okay. Fourth point, the method of input method, it is having the different languages, high level language, like Python, Java, R, etc. So these are the high level languages. Fifth point, it is extremely MELY reliable. Okay, 6 point, it uses which technology? In the fourth generation we have seen VLSI. Here the technology used is ULSI. ULSI technology. So ULSI means ultra large scale integrated circuit. Okay, see the difference. We are in the fifth generation of computer. In the fifth generation of computer is the present generation of computer. Means our generation, means we are using the computer is of the fifth generation of computer. Means of course we can see that these computers are very fast, and even you can see the price is also little bit low. It is most advanced one. In the fifth generation of computer, all the newer things have been used. Okay, computer developed after 1981 to present. That means if after 1981 and even today also some of the computer is getting generated, these all computers came in the which under fifth generation. Okay, input method is high level languages like Python, Java and R. These are the computer languages. Okay, these are the computer languages. These are, again I said, when I say language, that means these are the programming language, coding language, and these are the coding language which a software engineers is working and making the softwares. Okay, so this is not a English or Hindi language, this is not a regional language, this is a computer language that you have to take each of the language and you have to become a master on that. That you can do once you will go in deep in the computer study. Okay, so next point, it is extremely reliable. That means you can, I have said about reliability, so you can believe as much as you can over the fifth generation of computer. So that means it is very fast, it will give the correct result, there is no problem on that. So fifth generation of computer is extremely reliable. It uses ULSI technology. I told in the fourth generation it is a VLSI, but here it is ULSI. U means ultra, L means large, scale integration circuit. Ultra large means even bigger than the very large. Very large is there, one is large, one is very large, one is ultra large. So if you see from the television, if you go to some shop to buy a television, you can see that this is a ultra clarity. Ultra clarity means there is a one TV is having a clarity, but if you go at this television, you will find everything very clear. So ultra large means it is a very large, larger than the VLSI. So you can see that in the VLSI there is 1,000 and 1,000 of transistor can be used. Here it is more than 2 times or 3 times of the VLSI. So that means there is so extra advanced technology has been used. Physics and electricity, both has been combined to give the fifth generation of computer. So it is very fast in nature. It is very fast. Okay, extremely reliable. You can write it down. VLSI means ULSI means ultra large scale integrated circuit. Fine. Some examples are there. Okay, Intel i3, Intel i3 to i10. Just write it little bit more clear because you might not understand. So it is Intel i3 to I small and 10. Okay, I will say you that what is i3 to i10. AMD. Okay, these two things are there. Many more are there, etc., but you can write it down. So see, I am saying that Intel i3 to i10. This i3 is the processor. If you can see some laptops, you can see something like your laptop have i5 processor. If you go to some shop, you can see that they will say, sir, you can go for i5, you can go for i7, you can go for i10, you can go for i3. So this is the generation, third generation Intel processor. Don't go with the fifth generation of computer. It is a generation of the Intel which is produced that processor. So because of processor only the computer is there, that we'll see in the parts of computer. But Intel has i3 to i10. So if I will say that there is i3 processor, then that means it is little bit old. But somebody is buying the i10 processor, that means it is latest one. So if somebody is buying i10, that means they will get a very higher speed computer, and it will be very high cost, because making this Intel, this one processing, i3 and i10, this i3 to i10 means i3 i5, i3 to i10 means you can say that i3 i4 not generated, i5 i7 i10. Okay, so these are the processor i3 i5 i7 i10. Most of the computer as of now coming with i5, and it is good, it is processing good. But if you go for i7, the cost will be very high. i10 is used by the very high level companies, professional laptop. For the personal use, you cannot go for i10 because it is very costly, lakhs, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs rupees. So for i5 you can go, for i7 you can go. i7, it will, if you took i7, the minimum cost of the laptop or computer will come as 70,000 plus. Okay, if you go by i5, it will come by 40 to 45,000. Okay, and i3 also you can check, but i3 is little bit old. So Intel has produced these all things. So that is what this i3 to i10 is mentioned. AMD is also processor. Like Intel is a processor, AMD is also a processor. So AMD processor is not so efficient, but for the personal use, if you want to use in your home, you can go for AMD also, because AMD processor also processing it in a good way. But Intel processing is very high. If we have a both option, the Intel and AMD, then you have to go for Intel. And Intel, you have a i3 i5 i7 i10, you can go for i5 or you can go for i7, depends on your cost, whatever the price you expected. But if you go for i7, you have to pay near about 70,000. If you go for i5, you have to pay near about 45,000. So these are the examples of fifth generation. Okay, fine. So fine, we have finished this fifth generation computer, and these are the latest generation. We are working with the fifth generation. So let me recap, and then we'll give some questions and we'll round off the session. We'll bind off. Okay, so what we have seen, just briefly I'm saying, and then we'll go for some questions. Briefly I'm saying, like, first generation of computer is a very old computer. Second generation of computer came with little. First generation of computer, what they used? They used vacuum tube. That is why it was larger in size. Second generation of computer, it was better than the first generation. It was reliable. Okay, and for second generation of computer used transistor, but it was using transistor, and because of that might be the system is little bit bigger. So third generation you have one, and third generation they have used which technology? IC, integrated circuit. So in the integrated circuit means it is consisting of thousands of transistors, and because of this thousand of transistors, the system became little bit fast. Even it is faster than first and second generation. Second, and in the third generation of computer, we have seen the because of the use of integrated circuit, it is a smaller chip. So you can say that the computer became a little bit smaller in size. In the fourth generation of computer, they came up with a new technology called VLSI technology. In the VLSI technology, there is a lot of integrated circuits have been used. That is very large scale integrated circuit. So that means there is a 5,000 to 7,000 of IC has been transistor has been used. So you can say that fourth generation computer is the very advanced computer. And first personal computer came in the fourth generation. Okay, that is developed by IBM. Then we are working in the fifth generation. Then the fifth generation came, which is after 1981 to the present. So in the fifth generation of computer, everything has been changed. The fifth generation computer having the ULSI technology, ultra large scale integrated circuit technology. They are ultra large scale means it is more twice or thrice bigger than the VLSI. It is very small in size because of using this small integrated circuit VLSI, ULSI actually. And then you can see that languages also changes whatever the importing language, input method language you are using. So we'll see some questions and we'll round off. So first question will come like that. I have told something like a ENISE, right? ENISE. Question will be the language used in the ENISE is. The language used in the ENISE is, will have a multiple option. Option will be C. Second option will be C++. Third option will be 1GL. And fourth option will be D option. It will be Python. So the question is, in the ENISE, which language is used as an input method? I have given the detail that ENISE is a first generation of computer. So in the first generation of computer, the input method language was 1GL, first generation language, right? So you have to tick mark and 1GL. That is what I have said. You have to remember the example of first generation, second generation, third generation. Okay, so this is the first question. Fine. So next question will be, which among these will be have VLSI? Which among these will have VLSI? So I have explained VLSI, so just you answer the question, which among these will be VLSI? So DEC option is DEC 10, PDP 11, CRA1, all of the above. So how you will solve this question? To solve this question, you have to remember that VLSI is which generation technology? It is a fourth generation. In the fourth generation, what all computer came? So that means in the fourth generation, we have seen about DEC, we have seen about PDP. So that means these all computer came in the fourth generation. So you can tick off in all of these and just remember, write it down and remember that these all are the fourth generation computer which is using the VLSI. The question can be asked like this in the exams. Okay. Fine. Some more questions are there. Okay. So question number 3. Question is, you can use Java in which of the following generation? Easy question. You can use Java. Java is a input language. I have said we can use Java in which generation? A option is second, B option is third, C option is fourth, D option is fifth. You can use Java in which generation? So Java is the input method. I have said that the Java has been used in the fifth generation of computers. So you can tick down fifth generation, right? Write it down. You can see that the questions can be asked like this in the exams. So that is why these all things are very much important. Okay, fine. So let me write the last question. Fourth question is, it is a very simple question. The ULSI technology present in which generation? ULSI technology is present in which generation? Very simple question. Third, okay, first, fourth, fifth. You can mark. No, we have seen that ULSI means ultra large scale integration. So ultra large scale integration is the fifth generation language. So you can tick mark on the fifth, right? So these are the questions can be asked on the generations of the computer. So you have to write it down, and then you have to go and watch the video 2 or 3 times to understand and to just to remember. You just go it 2 or 3 times, you will be able to remember the videos, and you will be able to solve all the questions on the generation. Okay, thank you so much.